Okay, let's start with a question for you. Why is it that some of your absolute top sellers are constantly trying new things, new products, new tech, new ways of selling?
Yeah, even when they're already crushing it.
Exactly. While other sellers who are, just as skilled seem perfectly happy just sticking to that one narrow niche they know inside and out.
It seems like a personality thing, but it's really not. It's a strategy. It's a measurable adaptive strategy that it turns out directly affects their sales numbers.
And not just their sales numbers, right?
No, it even changes how they feel about their jobs. I mean, the research we're looking at today shows that this dynamic approach, it's the single strongest predictor of success, especially when the market gets, messy.
So in the next few minutes, we are breaking down the research into 3 specific sales tactics that will increase your sales. And we're going beyond the micro tactics, like what you say on a single call.
Yeah, this is bigger. This is macro strategy.
It's your entire approach to the market, your personal blueprint for success.
This is Inside Sales Geek, where we translate academic sales research into practical strategies that actually work.
So the sources we dug into introduce this really powerful idea. It's called salesperson macro-adaptive selling strategy.
Which sounds a little jargony at first.
It does. I mean, we all know about micro-adaptive selling, right? That's just tailoring your pitch to a specific customer in the moment.
Essential stuff, but it's tactical.
Right. But this macro-adaptive strategy, that's your overall game plan. It's across all your customers, all your products, all market conditions. It's how you choose the battlefield, not just how you fight on it.
Exactly. And the research here, it pulls from established management theory to classify these strategies into 3 really clear types. Think of them as like 3 different operational blueprints for a salesperson.
Okay, so lay them out for us. What are the 3 models?
The first, you have the defender.
Defenders.
Yeah, they're very internally focused. Their whole game is about maximizing efficiency within a market they already know, an existing, clearly defined segment.
Okay, so this is the salesperson who lives and dies by their top 3 clients.
Meticulously optimizing that same quarterly order.
Right. And they will not even look at the new product line or, a new territory. They are staying in their safe zone.
They're sticking to their knitting. That's the defender. Then you have the analyzers.
Okay.
They're the hybrid model. They try to balance risk, so they watch what other people are doing.
They let someone else take the arrows first.
Exactly. They let others take the risk, and then they selectively copy the ideas that have already been proven to work. They're cautious followers.
That sounds like the safest bet possible, honestly. Just wait and see.
It seems like it.
Yeah.
And then finally, you have the people who actually create the change, the prospectors.
Ah, the entrepreneurs.
Totally. These people are aggressively externally oriented. They are proactively searching for new opportunities, new markets, new products. They're all about growth and effectiveness, even if it means, they're a little less efficient in the short term.
And that's the absolute core of this, isn't it? The key finding from this study, which we should say focused on high autonomy, commission-based sellers.
Yeah, people who run their own book of business.
Was that only the prospector strategy showed a significant positive impact on sales performance. And this was especially true when things got volatile or competitive.
That's it. That's why your top seller might look a little scattered sometimes. They're not. They're just using the right strategy for a chaotic environment.
So let's get into tactic 1 then, actually adopting that prospector mindset. It all starts with an external focus.
Right. The research here is just crystal clear. When salespeople feel like there's high environmental uncertainty.
Which means what exactly? What's that feel like?
It feels like your market is volatile, the competition is hostile, your customers' needs are all over the map. When that perception is high, it strongly triggers salespeople to adopt that prospector strategy.
And that choice leads directly to better performance. The link in the data was what? Unmistakable.
Completely. So if your market feels messy or uncertain right now, and let's be honest, whose doesn't?
Right.
Then being a prospector is your best bet for actually making more money. They're the ones who solve the entrepreneurial problems.
And they prioritize effectiveness, not just efficiency. I think that's a huge distinction.
It's everything. They are willing to be a little inefficient because they have to find the right things to do before anyone else does. The research literally calls them the creators of change.
But I can hear a sales manager listening right now thinking, that's risky. If I tell my team to be inefficient, they're going to waste time, they'll miss targets. How does the research justify that?
Well, the cost is justified because the defender, who is obsessed with efficiency, is just perfecting the process of selling yesterday's product to yesterday's customer. The prospector, they accept a few failed experiments because one of those experiments might uncover the next big product or an emerging market that generates 10 times the revenue the defender is clinging to.
So their inefficiency is really an investment.
It's an investment in future effectiveness, absolutely.
Let's look at how this actually shows up day to day for a salesperson. The research points to 3 areas.
Yeah. First is the entrepreneurial part. Prospectors are among the first to move into new products and markets. They actually budget time to spot changes before they happen. They're asking, what will my customers need in 6 months? Not what did they need last quarter.
Okay, and then there's the engineering piece, which is more about their methods.
Right. So think about a salesperson who spends Friday morning not just hammering the same old call list, but actively testing a new AI prospecting tool.
Or learning the specs of a brand new product line that no one else wants to touch yet.
Exactly. They're constantly updating their own approach. They're flexible. And finally, there's the administrative aspect. They stress experimentation in just how they operate their day.
So new ways to communicate, new ways to structure their week.
All of it. They just accept that not every experiment will work, but they know the worst thing they can do is stand still.
So what this means for you, if you're listening, is you have to fight that urge to just narrow down and stick with what's familiar when things get volatile. That's the defender's trap.
Instead, you have to actually budget time, like protected on the calendar time, to proactively test new market and product opportunities.
You have to treat experimentation like a core business function, not, a distraction from your real work.
And if you're a leader, you have to reward the person who brings you a new idea that failed 5 times before it succeeded once. You have to reward the search for effectiveness, not just efficient box ticking.
Okay, now here's where it gets really interesting for me. The prospector strategy doesn't just help you find new business on the outside, it actually changes how you feel about your job on the inside. And that brings us to tactic 2, unlocking motivation through what the research calls job involvement.
And the finding is so direct. Choosing to be a prospector has a direct, positive, and really significant effect on job involvement. And this isn't just, I like my job. This is deep psychological commitment.
Right. Job involvement here isn't about the paycheck. It's that feeling that your identity, your sense of self is tied up in your work. It's the person who says, the major satisfaction in my life comes from my job.
Which is a powerful feeling. And what's so fascinating is the mechanism behind it. When a salesperson gets to operate like an independent decision maker.
Like a mini entrepreneur, a field marketing manager.
Exactly. They have the freedom to choose a strategy that fits what they're seeing in the market. And making that choice, it satisfies these really deep psychological needs we all have for self-expression and self-management.
So think about it this way. The prospector isn't just following a script on what to sell. They are personally defining their own success strategy.
They're choosing their battlefield.
Right. They chose the product domain, the customer domain. And that ownership, it just creates this dramatically higher sense of job involvement. They're running their own ship, even if it's under the company flag.
So if you're a manager, the implication is huge. If you want more job involvement from your team, you have to give them that latitude. You have to empower them, especially if they're on commission, to help define their own domains.
Because if you force them into that narrow, super efficient defender role,
you might be killing their internal motivation without even realizing it.
You're saying giving them authority over strategy fosters a stronger connection to their work than any, team building pizza party ever could.
Precisely. You're giving them ownership of the process, not just the outcome.
This is a good spot to just pause for a second and say, if you're finding this valuable, hit subscribe so you don't miss next week's episode.
And share this with your sales team. Get them thinking like prospectors.
Okay, so now for the crucial next step in this whole success cycle. This is tactic 3. It's all about translating that psychological involvement into actual high-impact work.
Yeah, the research shows job involvement is the critical bridge here. It has this powerful positive effect on what's called work-related effort.
And that effort, in turn, boosts sales performance. This whole pathway is like the engine of the entire model.
But we have to be super clear on that term, work-related effort. It doesn't just mean working more hours. It's not about persistence.
It's about intensity.
Intensity, the energy you expend per unit of time. Salespeople who are highly involved, they just work with so much more intensity.
So think of the difference between someone, shuffling low-energy paperwork for 12 hours.
Versus a highly involved prospector spending a laser-focused, intense 8 hours executing their own high-stakes strategy. Intensity is what involvement drives.
So this involved prospector, they are allocating intense effort to their new strategies because they're personally invested. They actually believe they can get sales tasks done in less time than their peers.
Because they're not just clocking hours. They are completely focused on high-value, high-impact activities that they chose.
So for you, this means you need to recognize that whole chain.
Yeah.
The strategic choice in tactic 1 fuels the psychological connection in tactic 2.
Which then drives the high-energy effort, the intensity, in tactic 3. And that's what gets you the sales performance.
So you need to train your team not just on what to sell, but on how to apply intense focus to these new entrepreneurial tasks. It's about channeling that motivation into pure energy.
Yep.
So where does this all lead? What's the big picture? How does this cycle create a successful and happy career?
Well, the research confirms it's a positive feedback loop. Success just leads to deeper satisfaction. The improved sales performance that comes from that intense, involved effort, it directly and positively affects job satisfaction.
It's a self-reinforcing cycle.
Totally.
So let's trace the whole path one more time, the complete success cycle from the study. It starts with the salesperson seeing market uncertainty,
which leads them to adopt the prospector strategy.
That dramatically increases their psychological job involvement,
which then drives greater work intensity,
resulting in better sales performance.
And that finally leads to higher job satisfaction. Strategic freedom literally drives success and happiness.
But we have to talk about the others. What about the defenders and the analyzers? Why didn't those strategies move the needle in this study?
That's a great question, because the analyzer, especially, seems so smart and cautious on the surface.
Yeah, it feels like the safest bet. Wait and see what works, then copy it. Why did that middle ground approach get 0 results in the research?
Because of the context. The study focused on these really entrepreneurial roles, independent insurance agents, commission-based sellers, where aggressive new revenue and speed are everything. By the time the analyzer waits around for proof that a strategy works, the prospector has already locked up the market position. In those environments, being second is basically being last.
That makes total sense. Prospectors win when new revenue and fast expansion are the name of the game.
Exactly. Now, we should say, if you're in an industry that heavily rewards long-term customer retention and loyalty over just new revenue.
Like a key account manager for a massive, stable client?
Right. The defender strategy might be more effective there. But that requires a whole different set of performance metrics, not just sales volume. In the world of aggressive growth, the prospector won, hands down.
Okay, let's recap the 3 macro tactics you can start thinking about tomorrow.
First, adopt the prospector strategy. That means you're aggressively searching for and experimenting with new products and markets. You have to prioritize effectiveness, finding the right things to do over just being efficient.
And you have to be okay with some of those experiments failing.
You have to be. Second, increase your team's autonomy and strategic freedom. Empower them to help define their own geographic, product, and customer domains. That is the key that unlocks their psychological job involvement.
And third, channel that involvement into high work intensity. Train your team to apply high energy per hour, focusing on new adaptive strategies instead of just pushing for more low energy hours at the desk.
Focus on intensity, not just persistence.
So pick one of these to test with your team this week. Track your results, and then maybe implement the next one.
And here's a final thought for you to really chew on. The prospector strategy thrived, where salespeople had real latitude to set their own direction. So you have to ask yourself, is your current sales structure, your rigid quotas, your narrow territories, your pre-approved scripts, is it accidentally forcing your best people into a less adaptive and ultimately less productive defender strategy?
This has been Inside Sales Geek, translating academic research into wins for your team. New episode every Tuesday.